if you want to do that, then what you need is the courage to be disliked, right? The courage to be a little bit different. And maybe in Japan, yes, I mean, you are in the minority. That's true. But the elderly, right? Those at the top must now also realize that things can't go on like this. Whether it's about the crazy working hours or the incredibly low birth rate or the fact that young parents are simply not being supported in the way they should. I mean, all those are simple facts, simple signs that show that things need to change, right?
明けましておめでとうございます。山田です。今回はオランダの歴史学者ルトガー・ブレグマンさんにお話を伺いたいと思います。ブレグマンさんは昨年希望の歴史という本を出版されて、その本では人間っていうのが本質的に友好的なものなんだよっていう論をベースにしてより希望を持って生きていけるような内容の本になってます。今回は今のちょっと希望を抱きにくいような日本の現状についてや一日本の若者として感じていることなどについてぶつけてみようと思います。As a young Japanese, I want to ask you about some questions. First, I feel there is a lack of hope in Japan, especially like Japanese young people, because there are a lot of social problems, as you said, low birth rate or economic recessions. And many experts says that Japan is becoming weaker and weaker. And under those situations, how do we have hope for our future?
So I think it's really important to remember that hope is about the possibility of change, right? It's not about the inevitability of change. It's all about the simple fact that things can be different and they don't have to be this way. This is just, I think, also the essential lesson that history teaches us. If we just zoom out a little bit, then we can see that we have made extraordinary progress as a species. You know, things like radical reduction in extreme poverty, radical reduction in child mortality. The world is a much better place than it was, say, 200 years ago, right? Then on the other hand, we are facing extraordinary risks as a society, whether it's climate change or pandemics or nuclear war, which is now returned as a threat. I think if you are young today, and maybe particularly so in Japan, you have to realize that the status quo is simply unsustainable. So some people say, we cannot change the world, we cannot change society. Well, they are really naive, because you can't keep going on like this. It's simply unsustainable. So we live in a time where radical is the new realism. You understand what I mean? And I guess that would be my advice for young people in Japan today. It would also be my question for you is, where is the Japanese Greta Thunberg, right? Where are the Japanese young people who are occupying airports and occupying, you know, oil refineries and you name it? Where's the activism? Where's Extinction Rebellion Japan?
I think it is also the problem. Many young people are skeptical or don't like about Greta Thunberg because many Japanese feel not good about the activism. Or, as I said, I'm also interested in climate change and I want to contribute to making sustainable world. But some people even said to me that it is like hypocrite or kind of those cynicism. I don't know why, but so how to make change under those situations, and I couldn't find like any answer for that. So I'm so struggling about it.
So here's the thing. Young people in Japan feel all this pressure to conform, right? So from a very young age, you have to get the best grades. You have to perform in high school, and then you need to be the best in university, and then you need to have one of the best jobs, right? And earn the most money. But the thing is, a lot of people today, in all economies, but maybe particularly so in Japan, have jobs that don't contribute much of value, right? There's this concept from anthropology. They've got a scientific term for it. They call it bullshit jobs. So many jobs that actually are pretty much useless. And is that really how you want to live your life? I mean, you've got one life on this beautiful planet. You might as well be of use, right? when you are here. But if you want to do that, then what you need is the courage to be disliked, right? The courage to be a little bit different. If we go back in history, right, and we look at some of the greatest reformers, think about the abolitionists who fought against slavery in the 18th century in Britain. There were not many of them. There were very few. And most people hated them. Most people thought they were idiots. But now when we look back, we say they were on the right side of history. Think about the feminists in the 19th century who fought for the women's right to vote. Most people back then said, these feminists are idiots. These feminists are crazy. We should silence them. But now we think, oh, they were actually right. Right? So you've got to try and zoom out a little bit and not think only about what your peers think and about what people in society today think about you, but you've got to think about what the historians of the future think about you. And then the whole perspective changes. But if you are afraid of the ridicule, if you are afraid of people saying, you're crazy, then I can't help you. You need that courage.
Oh, yeah. I felt that I was lack of the courage to be hated because I got interested in climate change and when I was high school student and reading some books and I felt like cool stuff. But when I become university student and talk about it to my classmates or friends, their reaction was a little bit negative or did not understand what I'm thinking about. And I felt a little bit afraid. Yeah, I felt that I was lack of the courage. But
you still went on, and still you're sitting.
Yeah, and I didn't like the way of think that working for money or economic success or evaluating people by status or the salary but becoming university student and thinking about our future or talking about the career with my friends, I felt that I found myself that a little bit affected by those social values.
Yes.
And I do not want to be so.
Yes.
So,
I can assure you, you are not alone. So my perception, and I'm saying this as an outsider, so take this with a grain of salt, but my perception is that there are many, many young people right now in Japan who are yearning for change, right? So a couple of days ago, I spoke with Kohei Saito, the great philosopher, and a couple of years ago, no one would have predicted that someone like that, like someone who calls himself a Marxist and believes in degrowth, that he would sell 500,000 copies. These people, who bought those copies, they're real people, right? And many of them think they are alone, right? And what needs to happen is that they start speaking out, and then you will realize that you are not alone. That there are many other people like you, right? And sure, there will be some friends and peers who don't get you, but they're, not very smart, and they don't know the facts. So if you look at the facts about climate change, what the world needs to do is to halve carbon emissions by 2030 and move to zero carbon emissions in 2050. Something like that has never happened before in all of world history in peacetime. It's a radical transformation of our whole society. Today, the world we live in is still, completely dominated and fueled by fossil energy. And that needs to change radically. So again, if you're not a radical today,